So, hello and welcome to the Human Story Behind the Business and Brand podcast. I'm the host, Jeanette Walton. I'm a career brand consultant and a Humans Matter champion, committed to helping others deep dive into their many human facets that make them unique, fabulous beings. I'm also a strong advocate of storytelling to enrich our human connections and our human appreciation of one another. This podcast series slightly deviates from my The Human Behind the Career Brand podcast in that it delves more deeply into those poignant moments, experiences and lessons that shaped a range of professionals into who they are and what they do today. It discusses their fates, their flaws, feats, fears and foundations, and all the other F for fabulous elements that drive them in their professional lives and perhaps their personal lives. So my next guest for this podcast series is Yarra Valley-based photographer, educator and nature enthusiast, Kelly Hoinville. Kelly has a decade of experience as a high school teacher, which includes leadership roles where she led the development of education and wellbeing programs that increase student agency as well as engagement. Teaching and empowering students was what Kelly self-defined as her dream role, where she worked with some really motivated adolescents, supporting them in bringing their creative ideas to life. And this included on projects that shifted broader school cultures as well. But it was when Kelly became a mother, not that long ago in 2024, that she experienced a career pivot moment. She realised that there were other dream roles that appealed more to her, such as being able to spend time raising and caring for her son, such an important role in our lives. Kelly now channels much of her energy and creativity into her photography business, and she's also a dedicated karate practitioner of 20 years who supports her husband Craig with the family's karate business. As a creative storyteller, she has spent many years capturing families, couples, and local businesses through her camera's lens. In her Kelly Hoinville photography business, she effectively blends visual storytelling with a deep understanding of each person or people. This includes tapping into their own unique stories and experiences. She also helps small businesses to bring their brand to life through authentic, purpose-driven imagery that connects more deeply with their ideal customer. Kelly's photography work is defined by her passion for storytelling, her ability to connect with people, and her commitment to creating meaningful experiences within natural settings. And did I mention she's an avid nature lover whose hobbies include snow skiing, hiking, mountain biking, and motorcycling, while also maintaining acreage in the Yarra Valley. Sounds like a busy lifestyle. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. That was quite overwhelming to sit through.
Well, it's all about you, all that you've done and you continue to do. Yeah, so thank you for coming
thank
on.
you for that. That's lovely. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I think we're very aligned with respect to storytelling, nature, human connection, etc. So I'm looking forward to delving into this a bit deeper with you. Yeah. So firstly, I just wanted to ask you, as a fellow advocate of storytelling to deepen human connections, did you use this in your teaching as well, as much as you have been in your photography?
Yeah, what a great question. I think I probably did innately, but not as deliberately as when, I've got the camera in my hand and I'm setting out, okay, what's the story that we're telling today about this business or this wedding day. But, as you've mentioned, storytelling is the best way, I think, to establish connection with someone. And when you're in a room full of teenagers, I predominantly taught in an all-boys school. And so establishing that connection is absolutely vital.
Yes.
If you want to get the best out of them in the classroom. And so storytelling, whether that be me kind of telling a story and involving them or just prompting them to asking them personal questions and telling me, oh, how was your footy on the weekend? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your family like? Have you got brothers or sisters? And just getting that shared story to try and find a way that they can connect with you as a person is really important.
Yeah. And I imagined sometimes perhaps interweaving their interests into examples perhaps you used as a teacher too,
Of course. Yes, of course. I did that all the
Yeah.
time. So, I predominantly taught science and PE. And so, there is always a few students that naturally grasp science concepts, but the majority don't, especially if the topic's
Relatable.
quite foreign, like in chemistry, for example. So anytime I could relate or come up with an analogy that was to do with some kind of sport and relate it back to the scientific concept, that was a win. Yeah.
Well done. Yes, yeah. Imagine there would have been a lot of footy analogies, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot of footy analogies. A lot of footy and
yeah. Of course. So, what do you personally believe it is about storytelling that enables us to better engage with one another?
so I think that, the best way to understand something or someone is to experience it. And the second best way is through story. And
Yep.
so that's because story is kind of the vehicle for emotion. So
Yeah.
we can elicit an emotion in the person we're trying to connect with, whether that's someone we've just met, a student, a potential customer. We want them to feel understood by us. We want them to feel an emotion. We want them to trust us. And it's through storytelling that we can communicate things on a deeper level. There's the old saying, facts tell, stories sell. And so it's because of the way that we can elicit emotion and understanding from a person, I think, that makes storytelling so powerful.
Yeah, I've not heard that one before. Facts
I've
tell,
heard it a few times.
stories
I didn't come up with it.
tell. I will have to remember that. I like that one. And I
Yeah,
think
it's a good
sometimes,
one.
we don't even realise the power storytelling's having with the connections we're gaining with
Yeah, and I
someone
think
yet.
that's probably when it's being done the best, is when you're not conscious of it.
Yeah, yeah, love that. So, in terms of your own personal story, what was the transition like from teaching to photography? I can imagine it was. I can't imagine it was an easy decision to leave your teaching career when you genuinely loved it.
Yeah, I do. I still do genuinely love it. So I suppose a bit of context. I started my photography bit. So I've been doing photography as a hobby, as many professionals have, for a very long time. And then during the pandemic in 2020, as a teacher who didn't have any children at the time, I found myself with a lot more spare time than I usually have. And so this idea of having a photography business that had been bubbling away in my head for years, I was like, well, if I don't do it now, I'm probably never going to do it. And so, it would be wonderful to have at least the beginnings of a business to kind of sink my teeth into once I've got children, if I would like the option to work from home. So that's how it
Yeah,
kind of all
makes sense.
came
Yep.
about initially. So for a while I was doing both at the same time. I was a full-time teacher. That was my career and my profession. And I had photography kind of on the side when I could, making a little bit of money here and there, building a business, that kind of thing. And then went on maternity leave at the start of 2024. Didn't do any teaching that year. And then last year in 2025, I went back in term 3 to do, the school just called me up and asked if I could do just a part-time term 3 covering someone's role. And I was like, I don't know, I'm pretty busy, I'm not sure. And my husband said, oh, it might be a good idea to just kind of test the waters and see if you want to go back, see if you're happy not to go back. And so I did. And I honestly expected to kind of dread it. I expected to be at school and just be wanting to go home. I expected to be at school and be like, oh, lesson planning, marking. But I stepped foot on the ground and it just felt like being home again. It was so lovely. And so it definitely made it a really challenging decision to be like, oh man, like I love the school. I love
Have
my
that
job.
burning
I love
desire.
the boys. Yeah. And so ultimately, because I was part-time, I'd never worked in a school part-time before. And so I got to experience what that was like. And long story short, it felt like I kind of had a foot half in and half out because I was
Yeah.
missing out on lots of meetings, which on the surface sounds wonderful. But when you're a teacher, that's when you really get to kind of connect with your colleagues. Most of the time,
And so
if you're not
important,
in
I
an
imagine.
office with people, if you're not in an office with people, it's quite a solitary, you're only with the kids.
Yeah.
And so I was missing out on meetings. If there was a whole school activity on a day that I wasn't at work, I missed out on that. And so it really made me realize that I love teaching, but I like being fully immersed in that school community.
Yes.
And if I wasn't going to be back at least a minimum of 4 days a week, that I didn't want to do it at this time. And
Yes.
I wasn't ready to be back 4 days a week and away from my son when I've got this other, opportunity of doing photography. And so that's kind of what made me pull the pin. And so to answer your question in a very long-winded way, it was a simple decision, but it was not an easy decision
Yeah.
because being a teacher was such a key part of my identity.
Yeah.
In resigning from that one school, I'm essentially saying goodbye to that whole community and then like moving to a job that is also quite solitary. Like obviously being a photographer, you're with people, but you don't have a team. And so, yeah, that was quite challenging, but it's opened a whole new chapter and I'm meeting other people like you and other professionals
Yeah.
and beautiful families and building other sorts of networks and the community that my husband and I are building in the karate schools that he's been building for a really long time and I'm now
Yep.
more involved in is really wonderful as well. So it's exciting, but it was
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine because I think it's a real gift to be a good teacher, yeah, and it sounds like you have that gift.
Yes.
Yeah, and it'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
I like
You
to
don't
think
do
I
it for
worked
the
pretty
money.
hard at
You
becoming
don't do
good.
it for the money, do you, as a teacher? You do it for the love, yeah?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I
And it
actually
is,
just
it's a job that's it's a job that's, it's quite clear to feel a sense of purpose. Well, I say that, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're like, why
yeah,
am I doing this?
of course, of course. That's human too, isn't it? But yeah.
But no, it is. And yeah,
I
it's a
saw a
wonderful career.
I did see Matt Damon, the top Hollywood actor, being interviewed a while back, and yeah, he referred to that, that I can't remember the full story, but the teaching, you don't do it for the money, you do it for the love. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think he was comparing it to acting. I can't remember how, but yeah, yeah. Maybe, who knows?
I
Maybe
mean,
one
I
day you'll
think
cook.
I
Yeah.
think some people do it for the money, and that might be, and some people do it for the convenience
With the
of
school
teaching
holidays.
because
Yeah, yeah.
it's quite easy to be a poor teacher and quite difficult to be a very
That
engaging
is so
teacher.
true. That is so true.
Yes, it's a
I can
it's a widespread, and I'm sure everyone listening or watching can think of two teachers they've known that have been at either end of the spectrum.
100%. And I can
I
think
think,
back to
yeah,
my high school days, and they're a little while back now, but I can think of that. Yep, absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely. So,
but it's like in most professions, really.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, you get the good and the bad. So, in your teaching career, one of your greatest highlights was leading an initiative where Year 11 and 12 students spoke about wellbeing to younger students. What really stands out about that innovative human to human engagement program that you played a key part in?
Yeah, I absolutely loved that. So we called it the student-led wellbeing session. So the wellbeing sessions were a standard part of our curriculum. We had a pastoral care system where every student from year 7 to 12 was in their own little pastoral care group. We had 56 across the school, 8 houses, 7 in each. And so sometimes the wellbeing sessions were delivered in your pastoral group. So students would be in there from year 7 to 12. And sometimes we had more age appropriate sessions where it would be all of the year 9s in one house together, for example. So one of the challenges we had at school is that there was really low engagement in the wellbeing sessions. The kids would, he's like, oh, it's time for wellbeing. Oh, they roll their eyes. And,
Yeah.
the closer to the senior end of the school, the worse the engagement got. And so it was a real challenge. And so I think one of the reasons that this wellbeing program initiative, the project, was so fulfilling is because it was dealing with whole school culture. It
Yep.
was involving all 56 pastoral care staff and all of the students, but particularly the senior students, some of whom were really disengaged prior, but they got the chance to not only kind of have a say in what the session would be about, to lead it. And so obviously, in one group compared to another, the year 11 and 12 students would have had differing, competencies in leading a class.
Yeah, yeah.
So the teachers were there to support and facilitate. Some fully would take a step back. Some would kind of co-lead with their senior students. But yeah, we saw an increase in student agency. We saw an increase in engagement from all of the
Wow.
younger kids.
Yep.
Fantastic role modeling for these younger kids to see the older students, not just leading the class, but talking really passionately about the topics. I can't actually remember what the topics were, but it was chosen by the senior leaders of the school, the students. So they were really passionate about mental health. So it was probably around that,
So important.
or maybe masculinity. And so again, the student leaders designed the lesson and the activities. And so it was predominantly, a student led initiative from start to finish, whole school culture change. And I got to jump out of my pastoral care to kind of jump around into a few different classrooms and see how it was going. And it was so exciting. So
How
exciting to see the
rewarding.
boys. Yeah, really rewarding seeing their ideas come to fruition. And yeah, it was wonderful. Really
Yeah, love
wonderful.
it, love it, and it sort of ties back in with what we talked about with that relatability, connectability too, yeah? So, having the
Yeah.
older students talking to the younger students, that relatability factor would have played a big part too, I imagine.
Absolutely. Because again, like in one pastoral class, they may have been really connected to each other, but more often the kids who were in the same year level were quite connected, but top to bottom, very rarely super connected. So this would have really improved that
Yeah,
connection as well, which was the whole point
amazing.
of the class being structured that way. Um,
Yep. Yeah, well done, well done. So,
thank you.
let's tap into your photography now. So, as a
Mhm.
photographer, you aim to integrate natural environment settings into client imagery as much as possible, which I love the idea of. Why do you do that?
Thank So I think initially it just was very natural because when I started the business making money from photography, it was all landscape photography. So I was selling artwork, prints, and calendars and things like that, as opposed to portraits. But then, I started getting inquiries for doing families and weddings and so on. And it's a really great point of difference for me. But deeper than that, philosophically, I love it. We are part of nature, nature is part
Yes,
of us.
yes,
And so I think when it comes, because yeah, as a photographer, I am telling the story of a wedding day or a family in that moment of their lives. And so the natural world is a part of that. And usually, a couple getting married, they will choose a location for a specific reason. And so being able
yeah.
to capture not just them and a moment, but the environment as a part of it and how it all connects together is a really important part of that story and telling that story.
And what we said earlier about sometimes you're not realizing how much a story's affecting you. I think it's the same with nature, isn't it? Being in nature, yeah. I don't think we always realize how much good it's doing us internally, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I may, I've got a little story for that, which I hadn't even thought
Yes,
about telling. But my husband and I, mostly my husband, he built the house that we're in now. And so before that, we were living in a little tiny house and a cabin. And so we would have to go outside to get firewood. We'd have to go outside to go to the toilet. We'd have to go outside to go over to the kitchen in the garage. And
yeah,
so
wow.
we'd be in and out all the time, just existing in our tiny house. And which at the time I absolutely took for granted. And you think, oh, it's going to be so nice when we're all under one roof and our bedroom
Yeah,
and the kitchen and the toilet are all under one roof. And don't get me wrong, it is lovely. But that incidental time outside, even though it was just ducking out to make a cup of tea or ducking out to go to the toilet or ducking out to get the firewood, it absolutely made a difference to how I felt on a daily basis, but also how connected I felt to the land that we're
to the
on.
land,
We
yeah.
feel a lot more removed now. Like it's so much. I try not to spend a day without going outside ever, but
But it
it's
does
quite
happen.
easy.
We do spend a lot of time indoors, don't we?
Totally. And it's like so subconscious. Like, so I'm not conscious of the fact that I haven't been outside until the thought enters my head. It's like, oh my
Yes,
gosh, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't even been outside yet.
yeah. So that being
So,
forced
yeah.
to go outside regularly, you noticed a difference in how you
Yeah.
felt in yourself, yeah? Yeah, wow, that's
And
really
again, without
interesting.
that experience, I never would have fully understood that.
Yeah,
So it's very
yeah,
important.
absolutely. So you've obviously been an outdoor enthusiast for much of your life, such as snow
Yeah.
skiing at the age of 3. So you may have just covered this to some degree, but How does being outdoors fill your cup?
Yeah, I think it's just that, there's so much research now about forest bathing and even having a picture of a natural scene in an office
Makes you
has
feel
health
better.
benefits, let alone, having a view to the outdoors, having natural light, or actually spending quality time outside. You feel more relaxed, you feel more
Yes.
content. I think I feel more creative as well when I've
Yes,
been
yes,
outside. Often I'm outside with another person, whether that be my son or my husband or my dog. And so it's also a really beautiful time to connect with others when you
mm,
spend time outside. And plus, you're generally doing some form of exercise, whether it's gardening or going for a walk or skiing or going for a ride. And so you've got those endorphins from the exercise
yes,
as well
yes,
as the vitamin D from the sun. Like it's just this really nice positive domino effect when you spend time out in nature. Um,
absolutely.
it's good for everyone. So people just have to kind of find what it is that they like to do, and just try
Yep.
and do more of it.
I go hiking just about every weekend. I go
Yeah.
hiking up in the Dandenongs and
Oh, great.
sometimes with people, but I'll go on my own as well. And when I'm on my own, it actually surprises me how much creative thought comes to me.
Mm.
Ideas, yeah, for work and stuff. Yeah. It's amazing how much comes to me. It really
Well, you
does
give yourself
inspire you.
the space to think. There's
Yeah.
not all the cues in your environment like, oh, I've got to do the washing, and oh, look at the dishes over there, and
Yeah.
my phone's over on the,
Digital distractions.
countertop, and I'm just, yeah, there's way less distraction. So it really frees your mind up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. And how do you think it's beneficial to our individual stories and personas to interweave the beauty of nature?
Good question. In what context do you mean?
Well, I guess if we think about you like to use nature when you're taking photos as part of the storytelling. So what do you think it adds to the story by interweaving nature as well as the
Yeah,
person?
well, it adds, a sense of place. It adds a sense of time. Like if we were to take photos in a garden, the plants are going to be a certain size, and if we took photos in that
Yes.
same garden in 10 years' time, it's going to look completely different.
Yes. Love
The
that.
same as seasonality. There's a lot
Mm,
of different cycles in nature
yep.
and in human beings as well. And so interweaving nature will tell the story of what season it is, what sort of environment you're in, as well as purely just from an artistic perspective. The natural setting that you choose adds a real look and a feeling to an image.
Yes.
And I'm really big on recommending people, for family portraits, for example. If there's one sort of style recommendation I can give them when choosing their outfits, it's about choosing a color palette. And
Hmm.
so, again, bringing it back to nature, depending on the time of day, the season, the plants that are around, you're getting a certain color palette as well.
Yep. Yep.
So it's all of those things together.
And I imagine, like, the beautiful what it evokes in you when later on you look at a photo of that was taken in a place that you really love. Yes? Yeah.
Absolutely, and usually people already have some sort of meaning or memory tied to the
Mm.
place where they asked to have photos taken,
Yep.
and so, yeah, it's bringing all of that together in a really beautiful image and freezing it in time forever.
That. Love that idea. So you're obviously a very busy person and professional. Do you have any practices or rituals you apply to help you switch off from work mode when you're at home and vice versa?
If you ask my husband, he will say, "No." Oh, look, wish I did. There's things that I do occasionally that I would love to keep working on and making a
Yes.
permanent habit. But I
Think
think
I
this
think
is
most of us have
that's a
that.
really big area for growth for me, personally and professionally.
Yep.
Because it's my first time being fully self-employed. I'm trying to figure it out still. There are
Yeah.
a few things. So if I get home early enough, I like to go for a walk, take the dog for a walk, put the toddler in the backpack, in the little hiking pack, and off we go and get straight home from working, leave the technology in the office or in the car or whatever, and
That's
then
important.
go outside. And then once we get back, it's like we're into home life. I'm into cooking dinner or we're playing together or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Putting the phone away is a big one.
Yeah.
Like putting it in a drawer, I
Yep.
find is very helpful. If I flip it over and put it on a counter, it's
Temptation.
clutches.
Temptation.
You'll get me? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frightening actually how well they're designed to hijack our psychology. So yeah, putting it in a drawer or literally turning it off.
Yes. I do that with my work phone on the weekends, actually. It's off. It's off.
Yeah, which is wonderful. So look,
Yeah.
they're the two that I probably do most frequently. And having,
Yeah.
having kids, they demand your attention. So it is quite a good,
Can make the
and
rituals
it's a
tricky.
really strong goal of mine to be as present as possible, when I am physically with my son.
Yeah, lovely.
And so if I have to do work from home, I try and do it like when he's asleep.
Yes.
But which then it's like, oh, if I haven't got everything I needed to do during work hours, then I pick him up from childcare, bring him home, cook dinner, then he's in bed. Then I'm working at like 8 o'clock at night, which is not
Yeah.
great.
No.
So yeah, it's
It's
definitely
hard
I'm
when they're
learning.
young. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you've got any tips, please let me know.
I don't remember coping very well when my daughter was young and trying to work from home. It can be challenging. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, super challenging.
Yeah, yeah. It gets easier as they get older, that juggle.
I hope so.
So I also imagine you're a pretty driven person based on all that you do or have done. And by the way, are you a black belt in karate?
Yes, I got my black
Yeah.
belt in the same year that I did year 12. So
Of course you
it
would
was a
have.
big year.
Of course you would have.
Yeah, of course I would have.
I
So
thought you'd
yeah,
be a
that was
black belt.
2011.
Yeah, wow. So how do you think that ties in with your self-worth and identity in terms of achieving success?
Yeah, so again, a wonderful question. And it's something that I've probably only become conscious of later in life.
Getting older and wiser?
More
Yep.
recently. More recently, the last couple of years, I've really, tried to do quite a bit of self-reflection. This kind of has come up as a bit of a theme because, yeah, I think from a really young age, I did tie, doing things well and achieving things and doing well at school and doing well at sports
Mm,
as like, oh, that's what makes me me.
yes.
And that's also what makes me valuable.
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's very natural for parents, to praise their kids when they
Of
do
course.
things well.
Yep.
So yeah, I probably kind of just internalized that growing up and
Mhm.
then have not really examined it until my early 30s. So yeah, I think it's all been very much tied together. That
Yeah.
that constant desire. I don't feel pressure to achieve, but I have a desire to achieve.
Yeah. And hence with the teaching as well, everything you do, teaching photography. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just having that balance though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can think of a friend who's a really high achiever, with the running and everything, but it's having that balance. Like it's not everything to continually achieve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like allowing yourself the space to rest and like
Yes.
sit down and read a book without feeling guilty that you should be doing something is
Yes.
also something that I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah. Hard for naturally busy people.
Oh. Yeah, and when you've had role models as well that also find it kind of hard to switch off and relax,
Yep.
it's difficult to break that pattern that you've been observing as well. So yeah,
And again, that's where nature comes into it, isn't it? Getting out in nature, it slows us down, doesn't it?
yeah, very much so, very much so.
Unless you're
It
snow
really
skiing, of
does.
course, but in general, it
Yeah,
slows you down.
then you want to go really far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Outside of snow skiing. So, is there anything else you'd like to share about your photography business, such as your primary mission and vision? Any special offers you've got coming up? Is there anything else you want to share?
Good question. I should have probably prepared something like that. Um, we cut out long thinking time in this.
Well, I guess what would you say your primary mission is as a photographer?
Yeah, I think my primary mission is to firstly connect with the people that I'm working with so that I can then deliver a really personal, intimate experience
Yes.
where they feel like they're working with a friend. Because a lot of people feel very uncomfortable in front of the camera. And so,
Of course.
my
Yeah, yeah.
first mission is to really put them at ease and make them feel like not only is this not going to be uncomfortable, like you're going to have fun. And when you see the photos, you are going to look wonderful. And then the end result is, a really beautiful collection of images that tell the story of their family or their wedding day. Or on the flip side, for the businesses, I have a really strong belief that behind every small business, pardon me, is really wonderful people and a really interesting story. And so I hope that when I deliver a gallery to a business, the photos tell that story. And probably most importantly, it also shows a potential customer what it feels like to work with that business or to own
Yeah.
that product.
Yep.
Or, yeah, how it feels to buy into that story of the small business and the people behind that brand. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm really focusing on this year. I think probably trying, as you said, I'm in the Yarra Valley. And so I'm on a bit of a mission this year to, meet as many small businesses as I can and hear about their stories. And if they're interested in working with me, great. But if not, it's more just community building for me. As I said, I'm a
Yeah.
really community minded person. And without that school community that I get 5 days a week anymore, like I'm on the hunt for more people
Building
to
new
hang
communities.
around with.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. And so it's about communicating like if we think of when you do work for businesses in particular, communicating the human
Yeah,
to potential customers, who the
absolutely.
person
It's
is. Yeah. And I think what you said about getting them to choose a favorite location, for instance, that's part of building that story for them, isn't it? Yeah. And making them
yeah,
feel
it is.
comfortable at the same time.
Absolutely. It's how can we make this the most enriching experience
Yep.
and the best possible images you can
Who you
possibly,
are. Yeah.
think of and imagine. And it's when you look at it, you think, oh, wow, like that's us in this moment.
Yep.
It couldn't have been any better.
Yeah, absolutely love that, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me. And I love your story and I love your passion for storytelling. I'm very into that as well. And nature as well. I go, like I said, I go hiking every weekend and
Yeah,
the creativity that comes to you and the slowing down. Yeah, all such important stuff. So thank you for sharing.
it is. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.